but you're riddled with STDs.
Just riddled.
Garrett has one of every STD.
He's a human museum.
That reminds me of that really great James Bond skit from SNL. Do you remember that one?
No.
Garth Brooks played a doctor, and Chris Parnell was James Bond, and he walks into the doctor's office, and Garth Brooks is like, "You have like 100 and some STDs," and he mugs the camera. It's great. And he says, 6 of them we haven't even discovered yet, so we've started naming them Bond 1, Bond 2, Bond 3, and so forth. And so it goes from there where Bond is calling all of his ex-lovers, and the best joke is he says, "Is Batman there?" And crowd goes wild. He says, "Oh, sorry, Robin, didn't mean to disturb you. Well, stay on the phone because this concerns you too." Highly recommend that skit. It's hilarious.
Do you know what's the best skit on SNL that's ever happened?
What's the best SNL skit?
Farewell, Mr. Bunting.
Oh God, that one's so good. That's a digital
That
short,
one.
though.
Don't talk about it. Just everybody go watch the SNL skit Farewell, Mr. Bunting. For like 90% of it, you're going to be like, what the hell?
What's the
This
joke?
is not funny. And then in the last 10% of it, you're going to be crying from laughing.
That payoff is just so good.
It was so fucking funny. A coworker told me to watch it. So I'm at my desk watching it. It's like early morning. And I just start crying with tears of laughter.
It's like 2.5 minutes. You're like, what is the
You're
joke
like,
of this?
what is this? It's so
sketch?
funny. Everybody go watch that. You will love it. Oh, and also welcome to Tudor. I hardly know her.
All right.
Oh yeah, this is not an SNL cast.
Saturday, I hardly know her. I'm getting really good at these jokes, guys.
Yes, you are.
Well,
because much like Saturday Night Live, it takes us a while to even introduce the show.
that's true. Live from Indianapolis and South Bend, it's Tudor night.
You're saying that
live.
with as much energy as all the opening acts.
Who do you
Live
think?
from Indiana, it's Saturday Night Tours. Hello. God.
With Keenan Thompson and Bobby Moynihan.
Keenan
That's
Thompson
it.
has been in every episode of Tudor. I hardly know her. You guys just haven't listened to him.
He's just in the back in a bathtub speaking French. If you don't get that
kid has
joke,
been
I'm sorry.
doing- Yep. That kid has been doing sketch comedy his entire life. I say kid, he's what, 30-something now?
He's older than us.
I want to say he's almost 40 at this point.
Yeah.
He's got to be almost 40.
No, he's a kid.
Anyway,
Anyway,
Keenan Thompson played a great Henry VIII.
in a bathtub teaching French and cooking with chocolate.
So, hi, everybody. Sorry to everyone who hates all the banter.
Fuck
Sorry.
you. Stop listening to our show.
Not fuck you.
I should just put, like, a thing at the
We want you to
beginning.
like the banter as much as we do.
I should just put it at the
What'd
beginning
you
at the beginning of the episode where it's just like, hey,
Skip
guys,
to 30 seconds.
go to 3-minute 30 seconds to if you want to hear
You
the
know-
rest, just talk about tutors.
Garrett, what?
Timestamps might not be a bad idea.
Garrett, what did you say?
I said timestamps might not be a bad idea.
No, you started saying something before.
I don't even know.
Probably about how we should stop bantering.
I said, give us a chance with the banner, okay? Some of it's funny.
Look, it's a
We think
it's
it's solely for us. Although some
Yeah.
people are like, I love listening. It's like hanging out with friends. And to those people, thanks.
that's what we want because you are also our friends. No, but seriously, I love all of you guys who reach out to me. It makes me very happy. I love getting tweets from you, asking.
It makes me happy seeing some of these without talking to Emily and knowing how happy Emily's going to be seeing them.
It really does just make me super, super, super happy. Also, I really think we need to do another episode with Garrett this time where we watch the Tudors and riff tracks it
Oh, yes.
because
People have been asking for another one.
they have. And I was watching it and there was this one episode where Anne Boleyn gives Henry VIII a handy, but he's
Oh,
wearing
my
these.
God. I would have had a field day with
He's
that.
wearing this like leather pantaloons. And I just couldn't stop thinking like, oh, Dan, wait, hold on. This is going to really stain these. This is leather. That doesn't come out.
This is wrench Corinthian leather.
Yeah. Next time, Garrett, when you're here in a month, we'll do a Riff Tracks episode.
Okay, but it better be the hand job episode.
I'll find a really good one.
Wouldn't that be great if they named all the Tudor episodes like Friends episodes, like the one where Henry gets a handy?
The one where Henry jerks it into Catherine of Aragon towel.
It's such a vile joke, and I love it. Anyway.
Jeff, what were you going to say?
I was actually going to say, speaking of the show, I was actually really impressed by the amount of interactions we had on that one. You made that post asking about if Anne Boleyn lived.
Oh, my
and
God.
Like, that blew up.
Yes.
Every time I checked on my phone, I was like, why do I have like 7 notifications?
Yes.
Oh, it's because that one post is just getting more comments and likes on it.
Okay, I swear I'm going to go in and respond to everybody's comments on that. But I think now I want to start a weekly what if post. Because
That's a
that
good
was
one.
awesome. Like, I totally expected the same answer from everyone, which was basically Henry would have stayed married to her and they would have been fine. But we got a lot of
babies and they lived happily ever after.
we got a lot of different answers, and like, I love you guys. So I'm gonna make this a weekly thing. And
Cool.
And call out to Christy Grant. I liked yours the most, where it was just one word, Cersei.
okay, wait. I actually do want to reply to this one. So, for those of you who didn't see it, last weekend I tweeted, or I put on Facebook, I'm watching the Tudors again, and it's got me thinking, what do you think would have happened with Anne Boleyn if she'd born a son? A lot of answers were stuff like Henry would have stayed married to her, she would have been fine. Some people think he would have divorced her later. But but one of the funniest answers was just from Christy, and it was one word, Cersei. And while that made me laugh, I disagree completely on Anne Boleyn and Cersei being the same person, because Cersei went in for it for power, and Anne Boleyn, while yes, she enjoyed the power, she also planned on using it for good. I do not see Cersei wanting to set up educational programs for poor people.
They're pretty
like
similar.
Anne.
They both want to have sex with their brother.
Get out. You're off my podcast. Nope, you're banned. Get the
Nice.
fuck out. If listeners, if any of you guys want to be on the podcast, open tryouts. Jeff is banned. Garrett, you're doing the editing now.
Oh, God.
Yep. Jeff's
No, Jeff can still do the editing. We got to make him do the bitch work. That's his punishment.
The funny is,
No,
I'll just edit it myself afterwards.
he just edits in his own funny jokes.
Just laughs. Not even jokes, just laughs.
Nope, listeners, we have an opening for somebody who doesn't support the idea that Anne slept with her brother.
Pinky in the brain and Larry.
That's you're the Larry. Garrett and I are Pinky in the brain. You're Larry.
Does that make me Pinky?
Yes.
Okay. Narf.
Are you guys ready?
I can't narf like Jeff narfs.
Noff.
Thank you.
Are you guys ready for this week's Tudor shit?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's talk Tudor. So
We've talked bollocks enough as our friends to the east might say.
across the pond. Across the pond is the phrase.
Across the pond is the proper way to say it.
Yes.
So
I
before
say
we,
the east like they're from the far east.
Yeah, I know. I was like, we will touch a little bit about the Far East. Oh. Yes. So
before we get into the subject, I have a Tudor question.
I have a Tudor answer.
Started thinking is I couldn't remember when we talked about it in the episode. For the wife, Catherine.
I love it when Jeff tries to keep the Catherine
Howard?
straight.
The fifth wife.
Yes.
The one who's
I
like
would not
super
have gotten
young and was just like, oh, honey.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember, why was she picked to be his wife? When, like, because how old was he? He was fairly old.
He was 50.
Yeah, and she was like in her 20s.
17.
Oh, right. And like, was
Possibly 17. Maybe 19.
it, like, was
Young.
Because I know
I'd
like,
say
there's like,
she was
there's
a
like,
gold digger, but
because there's like ladies and
Yeah.
ladies in waiting, that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So what was the reason he chose her to marry?
Because she was young and supple and stupid.
That's the only thing I can think of. Like, some hot thing. It's like,
Yeah, so he was married to Anne of Cleves, and he did not want to be married to Anne of Cleves, so he chose like the physical antithesis of Anne of Cleves. And Anne of Cleves probably looked a lot like what I look like, and that I'm not beautiful, but I am fine looking.
You're a total catch, Emily.
Aw, Garrett.
Emily,
I'm married.
You look nothing like a horse.
Nay.
She stomps twice.
So Anne of Cleves, I'm sure she was pretty, but Henry was used to beautiful, or at least graceful. Because even though
Because
Anne
he had
wasn't-
high standards for women.
he did for a guy who had the biggest ego, probably the smallest dick, and was a giant douche. He had a.
Hey, don't dick shame Henry VIII.
I'm gonna dick shame Henry VIII. He probably had the smallest, wimpiest. I'm sorry. I've just been in a rage since I've been watching the Tudors this time. Like the Tudors always elicits a different reaction from me every time. Sometimes it's just like I'm sad the whole time through. Sometimes I'm just like, what an interesting time to be alive. Sometimes I'm like, oh man, the politics are fascinating. And this time I'm just like, you motherfuckers. I can't believe you. Anyway, he was married to Anne of Cleves, and Catherine Howard was one of her ladies in waiting. And so he had Anne of Cleves, who was in her 20s. She wasn't old, but she wasn't to his standard. He didn't pick her out, essentially. That's what it came down to. He was used to picking out his wives. And Catherine Howard was there, and she was pretty, and she was stupid, and...
You're there and I'm thirsty.
kind of. I mean, it's not like it. The other maids in waiting, they were probably ladies in waiting. They were probably married or.
I just figure like at that
Jane
point,
Rochford.
it was just like that scene from Emperor's New Groove when he's just pointing out through the different women. Like
No.
no.
Let me guess. You have a great personality. That's probably exactly
At
what
this
it
point,
was like.
like on the fifth one, why do I even care what I'm marrying at this
She was
point?
pretty. I mean,
And that's all you needed.
so the funny thing is, he had a
Just
special.
grown fine.
He had a special mass said for Catherine Howard. So yeah,
mask. I think he said mask.
mask.
Here,
Honey,
please
wear
wear
this.
this.
No, he had a special while he was married to her. He had a special mass said for her, and the mass was like, Henry is super grateful that after so many unfortunate accidents with his previous wives, he found such a perfect woman to marry who is so in line with whatever he wants and bends to his will and all that stuff. And then like instantly he got a letter saying she's fucking other guys. So that's delightful. Henry VIII was a cuckold. Good, he's a fucker. Okay. Any other Tudor questions?
Nope.
I'm good.
On
Thanks
to
for that
actual-
Tudor question.
I was thinking the other day.
Oh my God, I've got you thinking of the Tudors outside of our podcast.
Well, because I came home, you were watching an episode, and it was like the
Yes.
episode with Catherine Howard, and so I'm like, I started thinking like, why did he even marry her? That's why I was confused. So, what is today's actual subject?
So Garrett has suggested this topic a couple of times, and we finally got around to it. We are going to talk about writers and playwrights of the Tudor times.
Cool.
You guys ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Because we always talk
Okay.
about Bill all the time.
We're going to talk a lot about
Billy.
Bill, but we'll talk about others
Mr.
too.
Shakespeare.
Would I was shook a spear. That's one of my favorite internet jokes. William Shakespeare in past tense is would I was shook a spear.
I thought you were doing like a Benedict Cumberbatch thing where you just keep fucking his name up.
Bumblecorn.
Was he
Singlecratch.
the Benedict Cumberbatch of their day? Just everyone fucking his name up on purpose.
Okay, so before we talk about what I was shook a spear, pop quiz. Who invented the printing press?
Um,
You
Henry
guys-
VIII. If all else fails, always guess Henry VIII.
Henry VIII invented the printing
you're right,
press.
Jeff.
Okay.
Yeah, I have no clue.
Okay, that's okay. So
I want to say Eli Whitney, but that's completely wrong.
Is that a cotton gin? Because the funny thing is, I was literally thinking that in my head when
Who
she
is
asked that.
Washington?
So you just allowed me to be the stupid one?
Yeah.
Washington something. He something.
Washington Irving.
What did he do?
Washington Carver?
What did he
Carver
do?
Wash-
Both of those names.
Who's
are
the one
familiar.
who invented
Something
peanut butter?
with peanut butter. Who invented peanut?
That's George Washington Carver.
God bless George Washington Carver. Okay.
Unless you have
Anyway,
a peanut allergy.
the printing press. Most people associate its invention with Gutenberg.
Steve Gutenberg?
Steve?
Johann.
Oh, his brother.
Yes. The lesser Gutenberg brother invented the printing press.
Hey, I just found out today that Mike Myers' brother runs a Sears in Canada.
That sounds almost
That
as bad
sounds
as
like
Lyle
something Mike Myers'
Hemsworth's
brother would do.
Yeah.
fish.
Somebody who doesn't know Mike Myers' brother.
The guy from Halloween? That's almost as bad as Lyle Hemsworth, who runs.
The bait and
Hemsworth,
tackle
bait
and
and tackle.
accounting.
No. So the printing press was not actually invented by Gutenberg. It is just associated with him. He did not invent it. He just improved it in the 1440s.
It's like Edison would do things.
Oh, fuck Edison. He's a cunt.
Yeah.
Edison is the Henry VIII of inventors. He really is. Electrocuting elephants, stealing people's designs, probably executed a wife or two.
All in the name for science.
Let's just throw that on the accusations.
Look,
Probably killed a wife.
Edison sucks. Everybody go look at
The oatmeal.
go look at the oatmeal.
The Tesla information is
Yeah,
awesome.
learn about Tesla.
Or
He's
that
baller.
episode of Bob's Burgers.
Yeah.
Or that episode of Bob's Burgers.
Electric light
Man, we are
bulb.
we are
God, this is such an
we are
off
18 minutes
episode.
into this podcast.
We haven't even talked about a writer
If you
yet.
love,
I said
see, no,
Gutenberg.
everyone says they hate the banner. No one tells us that they love the banter.
Yes, they do. A lot of people. I get a lot of
Accept
comments who
it.
say that they like that we make them laugh and they feel like we're friends. It's cool. Look, I also have a really bad headache, so this is partly delirious. Okay. Gutenberg didn't invent the printing press. He just improved upon it. The Chinese had actually been using movable type for centuries. So do you guys understand the printing press and why it was a big deal?
Yes.
Because you make multiple copies of any kind of writing.
Yeah, because before that,
You had to
it was
handwrite.
handwritten. So like the monks were the original Etsy. And it was hella expensive to own a book because it was fucking handmade every time. So, the printing press, it was movable type. So you had individual
really
letters.
Put a downer on the monk business.
Yeah, Henry VIII did not make things easier.
Yeah.
So, movable type was each individual letter was on a metal block, and they had, commas and parentheses and all that
Yeah,
shit.
you just
and
swap out
capital,
what
and
it
you
is
just
and you
swap
just
that all out.
stamp
And
the page.
yeah, he also improved the ink that was used. So he improved it, but let's all recognize that the Chinese were using it for centuries. Like in 800, they were using movable type. It was just,
Damn.
yeah. So
oh yeah.
let's
It's
remember.
it's crazy hearing about like Chinese, Japanese culture and like how far ahead they were on things.
Yeah, we suck. White people steal everything and ruin everything. Just remember that. So when the printing press was improved upon and made everything a lot more accessible in the 1400s and 1500s, made it so that the non-filthy rich people could enjoy books. They could learn to read easier, and they could basically enjoy the written word. So that was a huge part of the reason the Renaissance happened. So during that time, the Bible was printed in English, which was a huge note to the Catholics because they were like, only the priests can interpret the Bible. And do you like my Catholic voice? Henry kind of flip-flopped about whether the Bible was allowed in English or not because it's Henry.
Now, on that topic, with the Bible, because I mean, the Bible's been revised and rewritten, and it used to have to be written by people, and it's in theory the most powerful book in the world, right? Like,
Yes.
you can shape so many people. Do you think
Well,
that?
besides the Book of the Dead.
Well, of course.
That literally shapes people.
Yeah, the Bible is never bound in human flesh, but
That you know of.
Never Necronomicon.
so what am I trying to say here? So with the printing press being more widely available and being able to like make mass copies of the Bible, do you think that like that kind of stabilized all the different like versions and like kind of consolidated it into like one
No,
more
it
widely
actually
accepted
kind of made it
version?
worse because it made the ability to print English variations of the Bible more widely accessible.
Okay.
So before it was kind of the Bible would be written in Latin, and they would only be available for priests. And when the printing press came about, people were able to just go to a printer, pay to have an ad placed in the Lonely Hearts section, and they could have their books printed, or if they had access to their own printing press.
It's visualizing like early year books, like printing press. They had, like they had to like get advertisements. So you're flipping through the Bible and it's just like advertisements about your Bible.
X-ray glasses.
Yeah.
Trick your friends.
Yeah.
It's the original marketing program. Can you imagine Henry VIII's ad for a wife?
Wanted new wife, and the current wife's like, wait, did I just see his ad? Don't read that.
That's why
Lonely
you're not allowed to
king
read the
seeking-
newspaper. So, anyway, now let's talk a little bit about some of the writers. You and Jeff, Garrett and Jeff may have heard of Thomas Wyatt. Some of our listeners are probably more likely to have heard of Thomas Wyatt, because he was one of the men accused of sleeping with Anne Boleyn.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mhm.
he was a pretty well-known poet. He was well-known in court. He was around in Henry VII's and Henry VIII's time. And he was known for experimenting with the stanza form of poetry, including rondo, epigram, terza rima, ottava rima songs, satires, triplets, a partridge in a pear tree, and the Kama Sutra.
Did you curse me?
All of that was accurate except for the last two things I said.
Okay.
Damn, I was really getting
Sorry.
excited for a second there.
I would have believed you.
He did
I
not
really
write
wanna
the
hear-
Kama
I
Sutra.
was gonna say, I really want to hear about that partridge in a pear tree.
Sorry. So he was arrested for adultery, but he was the only man who was found not guilty. And he wrote poems about those horrible days because he saw Anne Boleyn's execution, and he was supposed to have loved her. One of the lines in his poem about that execution was, "These bloody days have broken my heart. My lust, my youth did them depart, and blind desire of a state who hates to climb seeks to revert of truth, circa regna tonat." So he was actually read a couple of his poems. They were pretty good. So he had a son, also named Thomas, who led Wyatt's rebellion. So that kind of sucked because that's what put Elizabeth in the Tower and Jane Grey executed. But Wyatt the Elder ended up dying in 1542, and he didn't see any of his poetry published. However, he did have a best friend. Not really. He had a good buddy to help him write. And he and Henry Howard, who was the Earl of Surrey, he was another author or writer during that time. Henry Howard, who I'm just going to refer to as his title Surrey, he was the son of the Duke of Norfolk, who was Anne Boleyn's uncle. So he was the first cousin of both Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard. Got it?
Got it.
Got it. So Surrey and Wyatt were known as the fathers of the English sonnet. And it was because of their translation of Petrarch, I don't know how to say that they did together. And Howard gave these sonnets their rhyming meter and division into quatrains, which would be the form Shakespeare would use. And then there was Thomas More. He was another famous author or writer during that time. He wrote, he was one of the counselors for Henry. He was the chancellor, if you guys remember. But he also wrote the famous book from the beloved classic film Ever After. Utopia.
Oh.
Yeah. Drew Barrymore.
Did you say Cinderella?
No, he wrote Cinderella. No, so in the movie Ever After, Drew Barrymore's character's father gives her a copy of the book Utopia, and then he dies. It was the last gift she ever received from her father. It was her most prized possession, and then her cunt of a sister threw it in the fire.
Whoa.
Yeah. Let's remember what a bitch she was. Anyway, Thomas More wrote that book. It was actually real. Also, Ever After makes a joke about how they don't divorce in France because only the English do that. It was funny. Go watch Ever After.
That's an Emily joke.
So it's a fiction and a socio-political satire, but I don't think it's like Naked Gun satire. It's about a fictional island and the shit that happens there. Not Lord of the Flies type shit, just, politics and whatnot. He also wrote a history of Richard III, which wasn't published until after he died, but I'm absolutely sure that it had nothing false and was a very fair history of Richard III's reign.
Sure is pretty, straight down the middle.
Probably. So now we'll move a little bit on to plays. Plays before Elizabeth's time were morality plays and tragedies, so they were really about teaching more than entertaining. They did other entertainment at that time consisted of masks, but those were kind of like ballets. They were more dancing with a plot than a play. So during Elizabeth's time is when plays became the Shakespeare type that we all think of, where they're actually entertainment.
Yeah. Where like they're actually would be like commoners.
Yeah.
Easily there to watch it.
Yeah. So there was this guy Thomas Kidd, and he wrote a play called The Spanish Tragedy, which quote established the revenge play genre. So that got me thinking about like what the revenge play genre is, and what the revenge movie genre is.
So like Payback with Mel Gibson.
Yes.
Yes.
He wrote that. Thomas Kidd. Some of the other writers during the time were Sir Edmund Spenser, who wrote The Fairy Queen, Sir Philip Sidney, who wrote The Countess of Pembroke's Arcadia, which totally sounds like a Fabio type novel.
I could totally visualize the cover.
Then there was Thomas Campion and a woman, fuck yeah, her name was Isabella Whitney. And then there was also John Donne. I don't think the same John Donne as Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character.
Damn.
Sorry.
That's Don John.
Oh, it's his brother. So one of the other really well-known playwrights from the Elizabethan time was Christopher Marlowe. So you guys probably haven't heard of him.
It sounds a little familiar, but please continue.
It's one of those things where people say his name with Shakespeare, but more like conspiracy kind of stuff. Like, oh, did Shakespeare steal from Marlowe? So he was a great playwright, and he was in his lifetime considered that. So he was well known even while he was alive. And some of his plays included Edward II, Tamburlaine, and The Massacre of Paris. So he was said to have influenced Shakespeare, and apparently he died very mysteriously. So now we're going to move...
a playwright-related accident.
His quill was found through his neck.
No foul play was suspected.
So then there was Shakespeare himself. So we're going to talk the rest of the time about Shakespeare.
Bill Shakespeare?
I'm actually...
Is he new?
This is going to be a short one. Yeah, you probably haven't heard of him. So Shakespeare was born, his baptism date is April 26th, 1564, so he was probably born a couple weeks prior to that. His dad was a glover, so that's my new career. It sounds like they make gloves.
Is that exactly as it says on the tin?
What?
Is that exactly as it what it is? It's a guy that makes gloves.
I didn't look it up, but I'm assuming it is.
Okay.
It's probably going to be something so totally different.
It's actually a mistranslation. They meant to say lover.
He was the original prostitute. Sex worker. Sorry. So William Shakespeare was born on Stratford-upon-Avon, and he had 7 siblings, and he was the eldest surviving son. I'm sure Henry would have killed for those odds. So he did kill. Quite a few people. So he was educated at King's New School in Stratford. So grammar school back then was pretty standard. They would learn basic Latin text and grammar based on Latin. Which, fuck that noise. Man, I know people who can't use proper grammar with English. Maybe they should learn Latin. Let's bring Latin back. Keep cursive in schools, and let's bring back Latin as mandatory education.
I did Latin and it didn't do anything for me.
Do we need to keep cursive in schools?
Yes, we fucking do need to keep cursive in schools.
Ugh.
Look, just because you're a plebe.
Listen, kids, when you
Do
become
you
a
want to know why
celebrity,
it's
how
important?
you gonna do your autograph?
Yes.
All I need to know is how to sign, and that's it.
That
I don't need
no.
I don't need cursive for anything else other than to read the text in that documentary we tried to watch.
Okay, that was a terrible documentary. It was what was it? It was on Netflix, and it was about a cult, and it really wasn't that good.
It wasn't terrible. It was just kind of
It was boring and
hard to
pretentious.
keep track of. There's a lot going on, and I think we're talking. I should try to get on my own.
No, don't watch it. It's dumb. Do you want to know why
Wild
cursive?
Wild Country. I know a lot of people really like it. I want to give it another chance.
Okay, do you want to know why cursive is important? Because
Why?
if kids don't learn cursive, they're not going to be able to learn how to read historical documents. So I don't care if 10 out of 1,000 children become historians. They'll need to learn how to read those documents. Cursive's important. Plus,
I mean, won't those documents have been translated already?
Garrett, you can't translate. It's not a translation. It's just rewritten. Possibly, but the thing
You know what I
is,
mean.
the thing is, there's value in reading original documents. You find more information. So you could misread a word because somebody read it one way and it's actually written another way because you're a fuckhead who doesn't know how to read cursive.
Look, I learned cursive, and it's still hard for me to read cursive.
I know a lot of people who don't read cursive. I have to double check with someone before I give them my notes because all of my notes I write exclusively in cursive. So I get that there are people who can't read cursive, but I also still think it's important.
All right, listeners, cursive, yay or nay?
Say yay or don't listen to my podcast.
Don't say that, Emily.
Oh, there goes every single listener.
Not extreme at all.
Follow me and Jeff to our Dumbo podcast where we talk about dumb things and use,
I think it was a Dumbo podcast about the elephant.
It's an entire podcast. Cursive's important, guys. Anyway.
Agree to disagree.
No, I'm right. So he was 26 years old, and he married Anne Hathaway, not Catwoman. Different Anne Hathaway.
Oh, wait, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
I know. Who'd have thought that a name like Anne Hathaway would be so common as to occur again? Especially when celebrities willingly choose their names.
Well, she wasn't a celebrity if she got the name.
Anne Hathaway might not be her real name.
We don't know that.
She could be Anne Hathaway.
And there's no way for us to know.
The internet is not going to tell us. So it kind of looks like they had a shotgun wedding because all of the stuff was rushed. Like there's something about reading 3 of something and they only read 1 of something. I didn't really read it, but it was rushed. And I didn't read it because it was in cursive. It was rushed and
See? Bullshit.
6 months after they got married, she gave birth. So I doubt that
I have never thought of William Shakespeare as having a kid.
he had 3.
Well, all right.
He had a daughter.
Papa Shakespeare.
He had a daughter, and then his wife gave birth to twins, and fuck that shit in the 1500s.
That sounds incredibly dangerous.
Like, fuck that a million different ways in the 1500s. It's dangerous now.
Yeah.
Can you imagine pushing 2 of the... no. That's... I'm scared of having twins currently. So, sadly, one of his... So, the twins, one was a boy and one was a girl, and sadly, his son died when he was 11. So, between 1585 and 1592, Shakespeare kind of disappeared from the records. They were considered his lost years. Kind of like Jesus. Please don't get mad at me, Christians. It's a joke.
He was getting married and having kids.
He means Shakespeare.
Yes.
So he kind of disappeared from the historical records, but he was mentioned again in 1592 when the London theater scene was brought up in some sort of writing. So there were rumors about why he was missing during those years. One was that he was poaching deer on the estate of Thomas Lucy, and so he ran away. And then Shakespeare wrote a scurrilous ballad, like a rap battle. So probably like 8 Mile. By the way, I've never seen 8 Mile. I'm just assuming there's a rap battle.
There was 100% a rap battle in 8 Mile.
That was Shakespeare. What was that Shakespeare show that was it just Will? What was the one on TNT?
Yeah, it was Will or something.
There was a rap battle in that.
Yeah.
So
Shakes.
go watch that. On TNT there was a show called Will.
Lasted like 4 episodes, I think.
In episode 1 or 2 there's a rap battle. That's probably what he did. He wrote a scurrilous battle about this man. Then another rumor was that he was minding the horses of patrons of the theater in London. Sorry, I couldn't read. And he got really interested in theater that way. Some scholars think he may have been a schoolmaster in Lancashire, but you don't really know. We don't really know what he was. That's why they're called the Lost Years, guys. So by 1592, there were several plays of his being played in London, and he was known by that point, to the point where some asshat wrote like a bad review of, not really a bad review. He wrote a, what's it called when you rip on something?
Scathing review.
No, because it wasn't a review. It was just talking trash about Shakespeare. He basically said that he was too lowly. He was too common to be considered on the same level of brilliance as Christopher Marlowe and also the guy who was writing it, because he was not smart enough and he was not royal enough. So it's kind of like how all chefs hate Rachel Ray.
Do they?
I heard that all the chefs on Food Network hate Rachel Ray because she just did this look, I'm really good at cooking, guys, and didn't have a culinary degree or.
Makes me think of the movie Amadeus.
I've never seen that. Tell us what happens.
You haven't seen Amadeus?
No, we own it, and every time I ask Jeff to watch it, he's like, no.
It's a long movie, but
It's a long one, but it's really
I
good.
do know there's that song, Amadeus, Amadeus.
yes, exactly.
Amadeus.
Who's the guy telling the story? It's Salvatore.
Salieri.
Salieri, yeah. The whole point, he's well received at the time, composer. He's very high class, and then Mozart comes in, and he's just kind of like this child, immature composer who's outdoing him at everything, and he kind of hates him for it because he's this man's immature. Yeah,
that sounds about right.
Makes me feel like this is how this is.
That's kind of how it is. Fun fact: my cousin's middle name is Wolfgang.
That's a cool name.
Yeah. So anyway, his plays were performed by a company. They were exclusively performed by a company called the Lord Chamberlain's Men, and it was owned by a group of players, including Shakespeare himself.
Mm-hmm.
And they became the leading playing company in London. And then in 1599, they built the Globe Theatre, which I'm sure you guys have heard of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I've seen Doctor Who.
I didn't do any research on Globe Theatre. If I remember English class, it burned down and was rebuilt. Sorry if I'm wrong.
I think you're right,
Mm-hmm.
but
the consensus between the three of us is that I'm right. So fuck whatever.
I was actually reading about this the other day. I'm pretty sure it was one of his plays, like a cannon misfired or something, and it burned down.
I bet you it was Macbeth.
Let's find out.
it's a cursed play.
It's a cursed play. That's why it's not called Macbeth in the theater. It's just called the Scottish play.
It's called Mac.
It's called the Scottish play because if you say its name in the theater, something bad is going to happen. I want to look up.
Yeah,
this
Simpsons
first.
made a joke about it
That's why Jeff knows it.
because they go to England and they run into Sir Ian McKellen. And he's like, "Oh, you guys started a play? Yeah, it's a play. What's it called? I can't say. Oh, is it Macbeth?
Oh,
He
it
gets
was
stabbed by
during
lightning.
a performance of Henry VIII.
No fucking way.
On this day, June 29th, 1613, stage cannon fire during a performance of Henry VIII ignited a fire that burned the Globe Theatre to the ground.
Holy fuck. That's your Henry VIII fun fact, guys.
Oh, wait. It might have been Henry V.
What?
One source says
Is it
Henry
in
VIII, one
cursive?
says Henry V.
No, we're going with Henry VIII. That source is an idiot.
Okay.
The Scottish play is a reference to the Scottish setting of Macbeth, according to theatrical superstition, called the Scottish curse. Speaking the name Macbeth inside a theater will cause disaster. Additionally, you can't quote it within a theater unless you're actually rehearsing or performing the play.
Okay.
But now I
Also, according to the know-all, end-all, be-all source Wikipedia, on 29 June 1613, the Globe Theatre went up in flames during a performance of Henry VIII. A theatrical cannon set off during the performance misfired, igniting the wooden beams and thatching. According to one of the few surviving documents of the event, no one was hurt except a man whose burning breeches were put out with a bottle of ale.
I hear the same story
I love
at
the
Indy
drums.
500.
Yeah. I'm trying to find. Oh, look, I'm trying to find historical mishaps of the Scottish play. This is relevant, guys. Believers have attributed to the curse problems in early production staged by Shakespeare himself. Arson in 1721 by a disgruntled patron. The Astor Place riot in 1849. Injuries sustained by actors at a 1937 performance. That started Laurence Olivier. Diana Wynnard's 1948 accidental fall, and burns suffered by Charlton Heston in 1954. In 1964, a fire burns down a theater in Portugal. The play shown was Macbeth. Anyway,
That was just for Jeff, by the way.
Yeah.
good job.
I loved it.
Anyway, back to what I have written down. Oh, fun fact. Oh, no, never mind. Not done yet. So Shakespeare acted in his own plays, and during the time where
That
he was...
I did not know.
I know. He was like...
Mel Brooks of his day.
He was the Mel Brooks of his day.
I've always imagined
Fuck, that's
like
delightful.
William Shakespeare to be this like stuffy, like very elegant, like effete dude.
Dude,
But
his
you
plays
saying
are
that
just...
makes me want to think of him as Mel Brooks.
His plays are not the ones written by a stuffy old dude. He was probably...
Well, I think of all old dead English people as stuffy old people,
Except for Henry VIII.
except for
He was
Henry
just
VIII.
stuffy.
He was stuffed to something else.
Yeah. And then he exploded. So in that time, he mostly lived between London and Stratford. Fun fact, playhouses were closed during outbreaks of the bubonic plague. Between May of 1603 and February 1610, they were closed for a total of over 60 months. 60, because of the bubonic plague.
I mean, a rundown theater with
Rats
a bunch of people
everywhere.
in close proximity.
Yeah.
all
Those
getting
rats
bitten
love
by
those
rats.
plays.
Yep. So anyway, Shakespeare died on April 23rd, 1616. He was 52 years old. They're not really sure how or why he died, but it was probably sudden. And his direct line actually ended in 1670. So that's probably part of the reason you didn't realize he had children. It's because he had two surviving daughters. One of them had 3 children, and none of those 3 children had children. And then the other died without children. So he wrote 37 plays and 154 sonnets written in iambic pentameter. And fucked if I can tell you what that means, because every time I look up iambic pentameter, I just get confused. It has something
Yeah, I
to
don't know the
do...
different types of poetry and shit.
Well, it has something to do with 10 syllables broken up into 5 pairs. So it's about the emphasis, but like I can never hear the rhythm. Whenever somebody's reading something in iambic pentameter, I really can't get the rhythm. So if someone can help me out.
Let me see if I can try to read some iambic pentameter.
Well, I found examples. It's stuff like alas poor Yorick. It has to do with the syllables and like the stress on those syllables. I just like, whenever I see examples, it always seems so extreme. Like it should be, alas poor Yorick.
Yes, to swell the gourd and plump the hazel shells. Da-dum, 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 da-dum. It's like that.
I get the da-dum, da-dum, da-dum. I just don't get the stressing of which syllables, because the stressing sometimes doesn't make sense. I never got this
Pierre,
in
you should have come.
Holy shit, maybe that's iambic pentameter.
Pierre, you should have come.
That's such a good movie. And that is William Shakespeare and the authors and playwrights. I'm sure I left out a million others. I'm sorry, guys.
Were there musicals back then?
Yes, Singing in the Rain was written by Henry VIII.
Fun fact.
And that's how I have no jokes.
He made Anne Boleyn cry because she couldn't keep up with the dancing.
Yeah. Henry VIII was the Gene Kelly of the 1500s.
All he wanted to do was just dance and make everyone else dance as well as him.
Gotta dance. Gene Kelly's such a dick.
Which is sad because his movies are so good.
It's so hard to watch his movies knowing what an asshole he was to everyone on set. And that's it. Do you have any questions regarding the Tudors?
No, I think I got it.
Cool.
But soft what light through yonder window breaks.
See, I understand. So,
I'm still trying to figure this out because it's pissing me off.
does
now.
everything have to be 2-syllable words? Yonder, window? Or can you have a 3-syllable word broken up into the stressed syllables? So, like Jeffrey or Jeffrey.
To get there.
I don't hear the rhythm in my head. So to me, it's just, I can't get it.
You know what? I'll just stick with good old-fashioned limericks.
There once was a man from Nantucket.
Good night, everybody. Emily, how can the people find us?
Find us on Twitter at Tudor Know Her or on Facebook at Tudor I Hardly Know Her. I'm going to start posting what if questions more regularly because I loved seeing everybody's interaction. Like, I love you. And it was just so cool hearing what everybody thinks. I like it when you all get involved in these discussions. If you have a question about anything or if you want to tell me how wrong I am about something, that's wonderful. Do so via Twitter or Facebook. And if you just want to talk about the Tudors, also find me on Twitter and Facebook. Rate and review
on
us.
Twitter and Facebook.
Fuck you, Tough. Rate and review us on iTunes and subscribe. That.
Yeah, and tell your friends.
But only if they're cool.
Mm-hmm.
Tell your cool
You only want
friends.
cool kids in the group.
Yeah.
You're all cool.
This is
if
a
you can hear
limited-
this, you're cool.
Limited group.
No homers allowed.
So until next week.
Until next week.
Until next week.
Divorced, beheaded,
beheaded,
died.
Divorced,
Divorced, beheaded,
survived.
survived.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
That's iambic pentameter.
Divorce. No,
we
it's
did
not.
it. We figured it out.
No, it's not. You're wrong.